A shadow fell over the journalist's desk, casting an ominous presence in the dimly lit room. It was cast by a hefty stack of documents, each one a potential Pandora's box of secrets. They were marked top secret, remnants of a forgotten past sealed away from prying eyes. The air crackled with an unspoken tension, as if the room itself was aware of the gravity of the secrets it held. A sense of unease permeated the atmosphere, a foreboding feeling of a truth too terrible to confront. The journalist, a man named John, hesitated, his mind racing with the implications of what he was about to uncover. His fingers hovered above the aged paper, trembling slightly as he contemplated the risks. He knew the risks, the potential fallout, the threats that might follow, the lives that could be irrevocably changed. He thought of the countless lives touched by government secrets, the families torn apart, the careers destroyed. But curiosity, like a siren song, drew him in, compelling him to seek the truth no matter the cost. With a deep breath, John began to read, his eyes scanning the pages filled with cryptic information. The words swam before him, painting a picture of a world shrouded in Cold War paranoia, a time when fear and suspicion ruled, a world where the line between reality and nightmare blurred, a project codenamed Somnium, cloaked in layers of deception. As John delved deeper, a chill snaked down his spine, the weight of the revelations pressing heavily on him. He uncovered a terrifying truth, one that shook him to his core and made him question everything he thought he knew. Project Somnium was not about bombs or missiles, as he had initially suspected. It was about the human mind, about manipulating its most vulnerable state, sleep. The implications were staggering, the ethical boundaries blurred. John grappled with the enormity of what he had discovered, the moral dilemmas it posed, and the potential consequences of bringing it to light. Despite the fear and uncertainty, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew he had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The documents detailed a covert operation, hidden from public view. Scientists, funded by the government, had delved into the uncharted territory of dream manipulation. Their goal to infiltrate the minds of their enemies, to wage war on the battleground of the subconscious. Subjects deemed expendable were recruited under false pretenses. They were promised wealth, a better life. Instead, they were strapped to cold, sterile tables, their minds wired to humming machines. The scientists, driven by ambition and fear, developed a serum. This serum, when injected, would plunge the subjects into a perpetual dream state. They would be trapped, their minds malleable, their realities manipulated. John's stomach churned as he read about the experiments. The subjects, lost in a labyrinth of fabricated scenarios, became puppets. Their thoughts, their fears, all became tools in the hands of their puppet masters. But there was one file that stood out, one that seemed to pulse with a life of its own, demanding attention. It was a file that sent a tremor through John, a chill that ran down his spine and settled in his bones. It spoke of a subject designated only as Subject 7, a name that seemed to echo with mystery and danger. Unlike the others, Subject 7 showed remarkable resilience, his mind fighting back against the serum's grip, refusing to be subdued. Night after night he struggled against the fabricated realities, the implanted memories that sought to overwrite his true self. He clung to fragments of his true self, to the faint echoes of the world beyond the dream, holding on to the slivers of reality that remained. And then something remarkable happened. Subject 7 escaped, breaking free from the chains of his mental prison. The documents didn't explain how. They were frustratingly vague, filled with redacted sections and missing details. They simply stated, in cold, clinical terms, that Subject 7 had somehow broken free from the dream state, defying all expectations. He had vanished from his confinement, leaving no trace, except for a single word scrawled on the wall. Awake. It was a message, a declaration of his newfound freedom. John's heart pounded in his chest. The implications were staggering, the questions endless. Who was this Subject 7? Where was he now? Was he still out there, somewhere, trying to piece together his shattered reality? And what had he seen in the depths of that manufactured nightmare? What horrors had he endured, and what truths had he uncovered in his desperate bid for freedom? Subject 7, whose real name was David, stumbled through a world that shifted and morphed around him. One moment he was in a bustling city, skyscrapers scraping the sky. The next he was in a desolate wasteland, the air thick with smoke. He was lost in a labyrinth of his own subconscious, haunted by fragmented memories of the experiments. Faces flickered in and out of view, their expressions a chilling blend of curiosity and cruelty. David felt a constant pressure on his mind, a sense of being watched, manipulated. He couldn't shake the feeling that the dream, despite his escape, was still woven into the fabric of his reality. Section 5. Where does reality end? The line between dream and reality blurred. David would wake up, or so he thought, only to find himself back in a new dreamscape. He started to doubt his own senses, his own perception of the world. Was he still trapped? Was this waking life just another layer of the dream, a cruel trick played by his tormentors? The fear gnawed at him, whispering doubts in his ear. He couldn't trust anyone. Every face, every interaction felt like a potential threat. He was a phantom, flitting through the shadows, desperately searching for an anchor, a beacon of truth. Section 6. The Shadow of Doubt. John, consumed by his discovery, became obsessed with finding David. He knew he had to tell the world about Project Somnium, but he needed proof, a witness to corroborate the document's chilling claims. He tracked down former scientists, their faces etched with guilt and fear. He interviewed former security personnel, their memories fragmented and unreliable. Each conversation brought him closer to the truth, but pushed him further into a dangerous game. The government, he soon realized, was watching him, monitoring his every move. They were cleaning up loose ends, silencing anyone who dared to unearth the past. John found himself living a double life, his days spent chasing shadows, his nights haunted by the thought of David lost in his perpetual nightmare. Section 7. A World Reshaped. Meanwhile, David, through sheer willpower and a desperate longing for reality, began to regain control of his dreams. He learned to manipulate the environment, to bend the fabricated realities to his will. He created anchors, symbols that he used to distinguish between the dream world and the real world, a red door that always led back to his childhood home, a specific song that jolted his memory. With each passing day, he felt the grip of the serum weaken. He was taking back his mind, piece by piece, but the experience had changed him. The world now seemed different, sharper, more fragile. Section 8. The Price of Truth. John, on the verge of exposing Project Somnium, received a message. It was a simple note with a time and a place. The handwriting was shaky, as if penned by a hand unaccustomed to writing. It was signed simply, David. The meeting was fraught with tension. David's eyes, though filled with a newfound strength, held a deep sadness, a weariness that spoke of unimaginable horrors. He recounted his ordeal, his words painting a vivid picture of the project's horrifying reality. John listened, his reporter's instinct battling with a profound sense of empathy. He knew that David's story, once published, would send shockwaves through the world, but he also knew it would come at a cost. The government would stop at nothing to silence them both. Section 9. Echoes of the Nightmare. The article, when it broke, sent shockwaves through the world. People were horrified, outraged. The headlines screamed of betrayal and deceit, capturing the attention of every household. News anchors with grave expressions reported the unfolding scandal, while the public, in disbelief, tried to grasp the enormity of the revelations. The government denied everything, dismissing it as a fabrication, a work of fiction. Officials stood firm, their faces stern, as they refuted the claims with rehearsed statements. Politicians took to the podium, their voices unwavering, insisting that the allegations were baseless and unfounded. But the truth, like a seed planted in fertile ground, began to take root. Whispers turned into conversations, and conversations into movements. The undeniable evidence started to sprout, pushing through the layers of denial and deceit. David's testimony, coupled with the leaked documents, sparked a wave of investigations. Journalists, armed with stacks of papers, dug deeper, uncovering more layers of the conspiracy. The courtroom became a battleground for truth, with every testimony adding weight to the growing pile of evidence. The world learned about the countless lives shattered by Project Somnium, the hidden scars of the Cold War era. Families torn apart, individuals left in distress, and the haunting memories of those who lived through the nightmare. The ethical lines crossed in the name of national security were laid bare. Declassified documents revealed the extent of the unethical experiments. conducted in the shadows of secret labs. The debates in conference rooms grew heated as the moral implications of the actions were scrutinized. The revelations sent ripples through the corridors of power, shaking the very foundations of political institutions. Shadows moved through the halls as the weight of the truth caused documents to fall, symbolizing the crumbling facade of authority, toppling careers and exposing the dark underbelly of the Cold War. High-ranking officials, once untouchable, found themselves in distress. Resignations were announced on TV, and once bustling offices were left dark and empty. And though justice was served, a sense of unease lingered. The gavel hit, the scales of justice balanced. But the people, despite the verdict, couldn't shake off the feeling of discomfort. The shadows of the past still loomed large. David, forever scarred by his experience, became a symbol of resilience, standing resolute amidst the ruins of his past. His haunted expression told a story of pain, but also of unyielding strength, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, a reminder of the human mind's ability to overcome even the darkest of manipulations. Through meditation and inner peace, he showcased the power of the human spirit to overcome obstacles, with light piercing through the darkness of his memories. But his victory was bittersweet. The smile on his face, though present, was tinged with sadness. As he watched the sunset, he contemplated the cost of his triumph, a trophy with a crack symbolizing the imperfect nature of his victory. The echoes of the nightmare he knew would forever haunt him, replaying in the quiet moments. The dark, eerie imagery of his past would resurface, bringing with it the haunting flashbacks of a time he wished to forget, a reminder of the fragility of reality itself. The broken mirror reflected his worried face, a symbol of how easily reality can shatter, leaving behind a surreal, fragmented world.